I wouldn't recommend taking your family and kids to that place because if you are in Netherlands and you haven't tried cheese, are you sure you went to Netherlands? So when you search tulip fields, the picture of this place is what pops up into your search field. Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Alicia, and if you've seen my previous videos, then thank you for sticking around. Okay, so as all of these restrictions are lifting slowly, you should go and take out that backpack that you plan to use for your backpacking trip across Europe because it's the perfect weather, the world is going back to normal, and here I am to help you with that trip. Okay, so no Europe trip is basically complete without traveling to Netherlands. And since I live in Netherlands and I recently moved here, I am the best person to give you advice on where to go and how to go. All the tips that you need to know to travel across Europe and the best places in Netherlands that you need to visit when you're in this country. So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. Okay, you should know that your girl never comes here without doing her homework, so I made an entire list of all of the places and the tips that I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's get started. Okay, so what is the first city that you think of when someone says Netherlands? Amsterdam. So that's where we're going to start this video. So the first place, of course, when you visit Netherlands is the capital of the country, which is Amsterdam. And yes, as the name suggests, and all of the stereotypes that you've heard about Amsterdam are probably 90% true. Speaking of stereotypes, if you want to learn about the stereotypes of Netherlands, then you should check out this video that I link in the eye up here. Okay, when I say Amsterdam, there's a lot more to Amsterdam than just the infamous red light district. And it is very self-explanatory by the name of it. So I'm going to talk about the other side of Amsterdam where you can actually go with your family and kids. And I'm going to leave that area for your imagination. If you want to visit that, my guess, it's also an experience. I wouldn't recommend taking your family and kids to that place. That place literally smells like weed and cigarettes. So not exactly a kid and a family-friendly place. Let's talk about all the other amazing places in Amsterdam that you can actually visit. Okay, so Amsterdam is one of the really modern, fast-forward, very fast-paced city in the country. And also because it is the capital, it has its fair share of tourist attractions that you need to visit. So right off the bat, the first place that in my opinion that you have to visit is the Dam Square. Just like when you're visiting New York, you have to visit Times Square, right? So Dam Square is basically the same thing. It's in the center of the city and it's beautiful. It is surrounded by these really amazing, gorgeous historical buildings. Okay, so right in the center of the square, you have this gorgeous grand palace. And then on the right side, you have this church, which is also called the New Church, which is really beautiful. The buildings, anyone who's into historical architecture, this place is exactly for you. Okay, so right across from the palace, you have this huge white marble pillar. You might be wondering what that is. So let me give you a little bit of a background. That white marble pillar is actually built in 1956. In the memory of all of the martyrs and all of the casualties during the World War II. So Dam Square is one of the most touristy places. You're going to get all the tourist vibes there and you would see that you're surrounded by all of the tourists from all over the world. Okay, so the next place in Amsterdam, which is right next to the Dam Square, is Madame Tusauds. So in case you haven't met any of the celebrities, that is your best bet. You should take a ticket, get in there and, pretend that you met all of these amazing celebrities. Not just that, there are a lot of other museums like Keukenhof Museum, there's Anne Frank Museum. If you don't know who Anne Frank is, she was the Jew survivor from the Holocaust. She sought refuge in that house and now that house is turned into a museum where she wrote an entire book in her diary where she was telling everyday happenings and all of the brutalities of that era. So if you're interested in history, make sure to check that out. Okay, so right after when you walk out of the museum, what is the next thing you notice? The beautiful canals of the city. And yes, they are absolutely stunning around this time of the year with all the flowers, the greenery, the perfect sunny weather. So you have to take a boat tour in the canals. Okay, even after after visiting all of these places, you would still have time and daylight because summer days are really long here in Netherlands. Okay, so when you're walking slowly towards the shopping area of Amsterdam, you would notice the cheese shops. And yes, that's the next point on my list, the cheese shops. And those shops are beautiful and really eye-catching because they have these huge cheese rings, like from floor till ceiling. And yes, if those cheese shops weren't enough, they have an entire cheese museum in Amsterdam, which you have to visit. If you're up for experiencing a real Dutch snack, you have to try all those cheeses. Because if you are in Netherlands and you haven't tried cheese, are you sure you went to Netherlands? So make sure to pay a visit to the cheese museum. Netherlands may be small, but it is not all about Amsterdam. There is life beyond Amsterdam, and that life is beautiful. So what is the next thing about Netherlands that you know other than Amsterdam? Yes, the windmills. They have like entirely dedicated villages where they have these windmills, the old ones. The modern ones are pretty gorgeous and you can see them traveling on the train. But to experience the old school windmills, you have to go to these villages. So yes, the first place to visit it's called the Zaans. It's in Zaandam. That place is absolutely gorgeous. I've been there myself and we spent an entire day there going to all the windmills, and they have all these souvenir shops that you can visit. And that place around this time of the year is gorgeous. And if those windmills weren't enough, those beautiful greenhouses with their slanted roofs reflecting right off in the canals, that place and that view is breathtaking. So if you visit there, make sure to take your camera because I didn't, and that is one of my regrets in life. That second place is similarly a village in Netherlands. It is called Ithorn. So you would get the similar village vibe from the previous place, but this place is basically all about the canals and the centuries-old houses. They have these like old Dutch lifestyle museums set up in different houses, so you can visit those and see how people lived their lives back in the day. After windmills and canals, what is the third thing that comes to your mind when you hear of Netherlands? The tulips. This is the perfect time of the year because we're slowly descending into summers and the spring is at an end. It's still the perfect time for you to visit Keukenhof. So Keukenhof is basically a botanical garden, also known as the Garden of Europe, and it is located in the city of Liese. So when you search tulip fields, the picture of this place is what pops up into your search field. Keukenhof is one of the most Instagrammable places all over Netherlands. Okay, so if you visit that place on my recommendation, make sure you tag me in the photos on Instagram. Okay, although Netherlands is abundantly blessed with the natural beauty, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any architecture or the man-made beautiful things in the country. Now I'm going to talk about the architectural side of the country, which you can visit if you're an architecture geek like myself. So the first city that you have to visit when you're in Netherlands and are interested in seeing the buildings, it's called Rotterdam. So if you're in this country and you're missing your native food, Rotterdam is the place for you to go because I'm sure you can find a restaurant from your hometown. Other than every second building in the city being beautiful and gorgeous, they have the Europe's biggest seaport, which is called Seaport of Rotterdam. This port was actually established in the 14th century. It's pretty old, but doesn't mean it looks old. The architecture of this port is absolutely modern and the sunset there is stunning. And if every normal thing in the city wasn't stunning enough, they have these amazing cube houses. It is one of the famous tourist attractions as well. The idea of them was like a tree, and those houses collectively are supposed to look like a forest. And these houses were built as an idea for a sustainable living, less space required and more people could accommodate. In case you were wondering if you could visit these houses, one of these houses is actually a tourist attraction. You can buy a ticket, go into the house, look around, and it's not even that expensive. I think it's 2 to 3 euros per person. So you could just buy a ticket and go inside. So the central stations all over the country are beautiful. And if you're into architecture, these are one of the places that you have to visit in every city. For example, the Central Station of Amsterdam, how beautiful is that? Then the Central Station of Rotterdam has a really gorgeous shape as well. And the Central Station in Tilburg also has these historical vibes. Although they don't get as much of the tourist attention as they should because these places are gorgeous, but they totally deserve all of this attention. So make sure to check out the hidden beauty and gems in these places. Okay, so this was the list of all of the places that I compiled that I found were one of the top places that anyone who's trying to visit Netherlands should or must visit. So comment down below the place that you think is important and the tourists should visit. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you already haven't. It's a small gesture on your part, but means the world to me. Let's get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, go on, subscribe. And I will see you guys next time in the next video. Until then, bye bye.